Welcome back. Nigerians are worried, Nigerians are angry, university students are not happy. In fact, just yesterday was the second day University of Benin students would take to major highways in Benin to protest the ongoing warning strike of ASU, saying that it's becoming too many. So to say, don't forget that in 2020, this strike was called off, a long one, and of course while we think that we're actually getting out of strike, then ASU struck again, so to say, and of course this is just a warning strike and Nigerians are worried. What is the bone of contention? What do we do? What are the implications and what are the way out? That's what we want to try to look at on this discussion segment of the program. My partner today, Tunde Olaniro, will be working behind the scene with my producer because we have three wonderful guests in-house and we are looking at unending ASU strike, implication and way out. Yes, unending ASU strike. It is becoming worrisome, very, very incessant, so to say. And so we have first from the Federal University of Agriculture here in Abeokuta, the chairman of ASU, Academic Staff Union of the University, Dr. Gbenga Adeleye. Dr. Adeleye, welcome to the program this morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
We also have a public analyst, Chief Abdulhakeem Mustafa. Chief Mustafa, you're welcome.
My pleasure.
Okay, Concern Nigeria, just like any other. Of course, our brother, our friend, Ustaz Jubril Lawal, also a public commentator, is here with us. Good morning.
Good morning.
Juma Mubarak.
Same to you. And I thank you for helping me to get for yesterday.
You want me to start calling me? Anyway, Doctor, let me start with you. This time around, what is the bone of contention?
This time around, what is the bone of contention? I don't think that it is this time around because we have been on this issue since.
Okay, maybe I should just say, why did you move back to the trenches?
Maybe we should have said, why did government took us back to the trenches? And that is how to situate it. Because if you will agree with me, 2 months ago, across all the states in Nigeria, all universities from the west to the east to the north and south, we were all over the media, telling all meaningful Nigerians, stakeholders in the educational sector, to tell government to do the needful. And what is the needful? The federal government entered into an agreement, 2009, where a memorandum of understanding was signed. In the memorandum of understanding, there are four key things. 1, on the condition of service. 2, on governance of the universities. 3, we have the autonomy of the university system, as it were, and 4, some other issues which are ancillary to the 3 things highlighted above. Now, after that agreement was signed, inside that same agreement, there is a proviso that it has to be reviewed every 3 years. Either of the 2 parties, either the government or the union, can call for a review of this agreement. But what have we seen since 2009? 2012, that was the expiration of the first 3 years. Government decided to turn the other eye. We called them severally to look at the agreement. In fact, as of 2012, they have not even implemented 10% of what they signed in 2009. And that led us into a strike in 2013. In 2013, by the time we were suspending the strike, we entered into a memorandum of action because meaningful Nigerians kept on saying ASU is not looking at the plight of students. ASUU is not looking at the plight of Nigerians. So we lean backwards. And from 2013 till date, we've been having memorandum of actions. This memorandum of actions was born out of the fact that we as a union had to lean backwards to say, okay, instead of going all out, full out for the jugular, let us be lenient. Let us be sensitive to the plight of parents, to the plight of students, for the government to do the needful. They did not. The longest of all was in 2020, where we had to go on a 9 months, yes. And you would think that a meaningful government that also had to call us through the chief of staff, which we respected, that if the chief of staff is telling us that at this point these needs will be met and the needs are highlighted, and we also culminated into a memorandum of action. That was in 2020. By the 23rd of December, we suspended the strike based on the promises of government through the chief of staff, because we felt, oh, we have the voice of the federal government after all. And so we suspended it. Between then and now, nothing has been done. We talked about condition of service in which the welfare of our members will be so much upheld in terms of increment in salaries. That was never done. And that is the renegotiation, which the government ought to sign. In signing the renegotiation, we are not talking about salaries alone. We are not talking about condition of service alone. We are talking about revitalization of the university. We are talking about autonomy of the university. We are talking about governance of the university, which is the sole responsibility of government. So up till now, there has been nothing between 2020. You can imagine a government that also had a team that met with us and we agreed. And there was a renegotiation draft submitted May, which ordinarily the ministries together with the federal government ought to have looked into and signed and even implemented. They promised August 31 they were going to fulfill it. 2021, nothing happened. They promised October, nothing happened. Now, here we are.
Okay, let me stop you there. Chief Hakeem, yes. Chief Mustafa, you had the ASUU chairman of FUNAB. What do you make of this from the concerned citizen and also a parent angle?
Exactly. I have 2 children in the university. And it is also pertinent to know that the strike we are talking about, or the problem with ASUU, is not for all universities. It's only public university. You remember, we have private and public. Some people are enjoying academic session as we are speaking. Why ASUU and government is...
Because they can pay.
They can afford to pay. But we that can afford to pay, we have our children in public school. The bottom line is that both the government and ASUU has to look at the damages that will be done eventually. When 2 elephants are fighting, what do they say? The grass suffers. And you remember they're not talking about salary alone. They also joined some issue with it, like revitalization or other things they added to it. If you run a company the way ASUU and government run this institution, you'll be bankrupt. So I don't think they have a business running things the way they are running it, both parties. Because we have not even finished from the event of the pandemic. These students were home, they didn't have academic session for a while. Some of them are doing online. That was not consistent. We're still coming out of that. So some of these students now have to sit at home again because of dispute over one thing or the other. My issue with this is that both parties need to take a very critical look at these things and see what is the best way forward. To me, the government employed individual lecturers or professors, but in a way, they are actually employing a trade organization. You know, they are not even daily. It's like, you know, you employ someone, but really you are employing an organization, because the moment they join the academic staff union, that's it. You have no control over what they do. You know, the students don't get to have this education. When this strike is over, this ASU still get paid. The government still has to come out their wallet and pay. You cannot run anything successfully like this. So I think, people should learn to honor agreement. It's unfortunate that we have not got to a place where judiciary can actually do its job. Because when you have disputes, they can go to court and enforce that rather than keeping people suffering. But right now, it's only student. I wonder why they are not at the table here. The only person that suffers here is the student, and people need to start looking at that.
Ustaz Jibril Lawal, you also heard that, strike, the best way to go for ASU?
Oh, thank you so much. I think what we're dealing with here is arrogance and brigandry. The question I want to ask is, I'll try and provide an answer anyway. Does ASU think strike will solve this problem? And I'll tell you why. Successive government in Nigeria, right from Obasanjo, let's leave Babangida and co. Let's take Obasanjo, democratically elected government. Democratically elected governments. From 1999 to date, they've all had issues with ASU. None of them have been able to meet the demand of ASU. None of them. Now, within that time and now, ASU has gone on strike for 50 months. 50 months. Within Obasanjo, they were on strike for 18 months. Obasanjo. Yar'Adua, they were on strike for about 5 months. Jonathan, they were on strike for about 13 months. In PNB, they are on strike for about 15 or so months. Add together 50 months. So in those periods of about, when you accumulate it, that's about 20% of our democratic years of this regime, this democratic dispensation from Obasanjo to date. And that's about a year in every 5 years. They will be on strike for 1 year in every 5 years. I ask a question. What exactly do they want? Look, when you are applying a strategy and it's not working, change the strategy. It is obvious that strike will not solve the problem that ASU is asking for. They can't keep on holding Nigerian students by the jugular. They can't. They are employed to work. If they have issues, yes, they brought in a lot of what apart from the allowances, etc. Yes, they brought it in. But the fact remains that it's arrogance that is killing ASU. Babalaki, when a negotiation team was brought about, look, listen, we might not like PNB government, but PNB has been a responsible government to a number of issues that he meant on ground when it comes to financial issues. He has been the only government that paid 200 billion. For what ASU is asking for, no government can survive, can sustain it. That they should pay them 200 billion every year for 5 years. How much is Nigerian budget? That they spend 200 billion only on university education. What about primary and tertiary other secondary education? What is happening to that? It's an absurd. It's sending logic on the head. When we say we should fund university education and we're not funding primary education, we're not funding secondary education. Government is not doing that. What are we asking for? So we need to sit down. Abalaki told them that, look, government cannot sustain this. NUC sat and said, look, to sustain an average student in Nigerian university, government needs $3,000 for a course per student or enrollment. When they calculated at that time, it was 1.8 trillion naira per annum. How much is Nigerian budget? So they can't sustain it. That is why it is not working. Can we sit down, profile that suggestion? Babalaki came and said, look, listen, can we bring out a loan system for Nigerian students? The government cannot do this alone. Baba Ogunyemi then said, no.
Government signed a memorandum that they can do it.
Listen. They were forced to sign a memorandum. Government was forced. Look, if OBJ couldn't do it, Yar'Adua couldn't do it, Jonathan couldn't do it, PNB is able to do it, who will do it? For how long are we going to keep on holding a just student at jugular? Can we sit down and revisit that agreement and know that government cannot fulfill this? I'm not saying government is right or wrong, it's not the issue. The issue is what is practicable, what is empirically possible. These are the things I'm asking for. What ASU is asking for, no government will meet that demand. Look, if you become the president, you can't meet their demand. That's the truth. So can ASU come back, revisit their issues, and find a way out to the solution of the problem? These are the things I'm talking about. They can't keep on telling us, okay, review our salary, our condition of services, university education. Listen, you said the question, you said those in private schools have education. Yeah, I agree with you. But when you go to Olabisi University now, they are on strike. And we are paying like private university. When you don't go Taswell, they are on strike. But we are paying for our children's education there. It's not a federal university, but they are on strike. This needs to come to an end. ASUU need to sit down and accept. The people have told them what you are asking for from the government cannot do it. The amount of money you are asking from government, what is the budget of Nigeria in 2015? If you bring out 1.8 trillion from that budget, what is the percentage of that? That's about like 70% of the capital expenditure for that year alone. So what are we talking about? You cannot meet that demand. So let's have to sit down and we think strike will not solve the problem. Okay. It is obvious.
Dr. Adeleye, when I was trying to bring you to this program, I know you were in a long meeting with other national ASUU members, so to say. Just like you said, people are saying government does not have enough funds. What soft landing, what middle way approach that will satisfy both parties is ASUU thinking about, or are you not at all? That is one. Let me take this one to them. Why don't you want to believe in the IPPIS payments that the government said ASUU should go into? You prefer UTAS, so to say. Why this? Quickly.
Thank you. Let me start by first taking exception to some few statements that has been said here. We, as a union, we are not a political party, and we are not armed men that will force anybody or put a barrel of gun to the head of anybody to sign agreements. The government signed an agreement with us. The president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria signed an agreement and reneged on the agreement. And so it is not about us forcing anybody. Let's hold that. Two, we are talking about alternatives. Which kind of alternatives have we not? I've just highlighted for you. We are not strike mongers. It is always painful for us, even as you need to understand, if our meetings are being broadcasted, you will see how we fought each other to get to this decision. But can any Nigerian tell me a government that is very sensitive to the plight of the citizens, a government that seems deaf to the plight of workers? You signed an agreement and we have done everything. It took Gbajabiamila, the speaker, to salvage the 2020, to make us suspend it by saying it wasn't even going to pass the budget, except the end academic allowances of lecturers are mainstreamed. These are the living backward. These are what is give and takes that we do.
Do you believe that the government might not have these funds? I mean, does ASUU believe that?
There are two things. We will not believe that government doesn't have funds. How should we believe that government doesn't have funds when you have wasteful spendings at the Senate, wasteful spendings at House of, even in the Villa? How much are we talking about? In a society that holds in high esteem the development of the country, you will place value on educational sector such that the products, is it not the students that will graduate that should in turn come to develop the country? Is it those that are to teach them, those that are to train them, those that are to develop them? Is it until they keep dropping dead on the podium that you will now, until we are all dead, that you will know that the government is not doing enough? No, we take exception to it. How many times has even the Ministry of Health, the doctors, gone on strike in the past 4 years? How many times have their salaries been reviewed? Who are those teaching them to the doctors? Are we not the ones? So what are we talking about? You are talking about private schools. Can any private school survive without without the services of those that are in the public schools? None. And they get their services through the window of sabbatical leaves that it is part of the condition of service. It is not open to all lecturers to be on sabbatical. Only the university does with accurate, with commensurate experience. We are talking about knowledge. A country that does not pride in developing its human resource in the educational sector. There was once in Nigeria. A Nigeria that puts money in training people abroad, and even a lot of the first generation people in all these sectors across Nigeria. They were trained abroad. Even our own professors, our own teachers that we met, they went and came back. That was the country. When all this started, when the political elite started destroying the educational fabric of the country, that is when we got to this point we are in. And we cannot afford to die. Nobody is listening. Even the NLC, you know how many times they fought. How many times is government listening to them? Enough is enough. That is why we are here.
You see, the issue, I think, the doctor is not getting the issue. Nigerians acknowledge all these things he has just highlighted, that there are problems. But we're asking a question. Strike has not solved it in the past 22 years. Now you are saying you give us 4 months warning strike. Will it solve the problem? No. If the president ASUU chairman is made the Minister of Education and brought in, he will still not meet those agreements. Why can't we sit down and look for a way out to solve this problem? Babalake, I suggested that, look, listen, can we find a different way to this problem? Have to call him names and say he should be removed from that negotiation team. All of us in Nigeria, when it was happening, he was asked to be withdrawn because he was telling the truth. The truth is what ASUU is asking for. No government can meet it. That's the truth.
Sorry. Let me. You come. Let me just throw more light on the Baba. You see, the Baba. Yes, it's unfortunate, very unfortunate. People are not really informed about the role Babalake, who in his tyrannical strides brought us
to this level.
Somebody who was made a chairman of the negotiation team from the government side, and with all kinds of excuses, he was making sure that meeting, you can imagine someone that was to convey a meeting in Abuja, and he said because he cannot risk his life to travel to Abuja via here because they are reconstructing the airport. He cannot travel to Abuja for a meeting for almost 7 months. There was even it was beckoned upon. Okay, land in Kaduna, and then we move from Kaduna to Abuja for 7 months. Is that a kind of leader? Is a Babalake that for 13 months could not have a headway on a renegotiation team that Professor Jibril in less than 6 weeks chaired and got an agreement.
Okay, Chief Mustafa.
So like the Hussein said, it's a basic thing that any common sense person should understand. You cannot keep doing the same thing and expect a different outcome. It's a classic definition of insanity. It's mental. You do the same thing, you expect a different outcome. They are telling us to look for a way out. Understand? Ustaz has mentioned something like a voucher system, where the university is run like semi-private school. The government give allocation to each student. I'm sure ASUU will never agree to that.
It's not possible.
Well, let me finish. We said we're looking for a way out. We keep saying something is impossible. Can't we try something different? You see, we keep doing the same thing, expecting different. Let me tell you, I'd like to mention something. I have sympathy for any worker that's been marginalized. You understand? If they feel oppressed or it's a real oppression. But they will say they didn't force a gun to somebody, say, you're a pressure group for God's sake. What's a pressure group? That's a trade organization. They made you do what you don't want to do. But we are saying for the sake of even the ASUU themselves and the students.
I think we should say they make you see why you should do what you thought you don't want to do.
But they're not going to call up the strike, and people are looking at their children at home. What do? And the political parties are looking at their image too. Like, okay, what happened to the society that is stagnant, educational-wise? The point is right. These are our future leaders. You know, in developed school countries, people drop out of school to go start something instead of wasting 5 years doing nothing, going through strike. But even with the education here, your future is not guaranteed.
Sure.
How many people are unemployed now? You know? So what we're saying is that can we look at a different methodology to make sure this thing is not continue the same way we've been doing it? The analysis is very accurate. An average student go to school, 4-year school for 5 years. That's it. It might be 6 years if you don't take time.
My daughter is doing a 5-year program for 7 years now.
I have my son in Abuja, University of Abuja.
7 years now.
So this is what we're talking about. We are still parents. Even the ASU people are parents. We're saying, let's look at alternative way of dealing with this thing. If no democratic government has been able to do it, we know the military will force you to do some things. But thank God that one is at bay. So what other way can we sit down and look at that will benefit you and benefit us? He made mention of the private school. We go on sabbatical, whatever. Have you ever heard that private school went on strike? No. And I'm not saying the government is right by just reneging an agreement, but for image's sake, you see the religious leaders coming out, the traditional leaders coming out. That means this thing is very, very serious. These are our students. So I'm saying I kind of concur a little bit with what the Ustaz said. We need to start looking at alternative way of educating our children, where they will go to 4-year school and actually graduate in 4 years, where ASU or whatever trade organization that come up later will have what they agree to. Like I said, you are employing an individual, and indirectly you are actually employing a trade organization.
Is that right?
Yeah. It's there in the Constitution, but it's the right of the student to have education too.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, what are we talking about?
Okay, I'll come to you, Dr. Ustaz Jubril. Let's look at it holistically. Do you think the recent one? Don't let us go back into history. We have the one we are dealing with now, and just like you said, most of us have kids in the universities. Like I will always say, because I know what I can afford, that look, read your books, pass your exams, and of course do your JAMB, because you must go to a federal university. That is what I can afford as Hakeem Akintunde. I might not even be able to afford OSU, just like you said, but because I know that is where I can actually get some breather. Now let's come. Do you think government have been serious so far looking at these things? Yes, I agree with him. You don't put gun on them to sign a memorandum, and I don't see it as a serious government when you just say, let me just sign and let's go. When we get to the river, we'll cross it.
I don't think that's true though.
Is that not what government has been doing? Do you think they have been serious on this issue so far? What does this say of the current Minister of Education, who also just came out to be blaming ASU for refusing, that they are dodging negotiation? Do you think ASU is actually dodging negotiation?
Thank you. First and foremost, ASU needs to realize that, I don't know, they are employed by government, and certain rules should hold. You know, that's number one. Coming to the issue of government has done it right or not, I am repeating, and I'll keep on repeating it. If from 1999 to date, no government has been able to meet ASU's demand, you need to start asking questions. What is in that demand that they cannot meet? PMB said, okay, I will release money. He released 200 billion naira. You know, he has been the only one that has moved closer to even fulfilling those agreements. Now, they brought in Babalaki. Babalaki has highlighted certain proposal. They have rejected it. And he said, no government will meet this your agreement, this your demand. Can we look for alternative way of doing it? These are the issues. I don't want to start looking at government is right, government is wrong, government is serious, is not serious, government is committed to develop Nigerian citizens or Nigerian children. No, that's not the issue. But like I tell you, listen, my child is in secondary school now, she wants to write a WAEC. I've been asked to pay 450,000 naira. Now I want my daughter to go to the university and pay 50,000 naira. Oh, we need, all over the world, government is bringing about loan system for students. Can we look at other things? That is what ASU is not doing. When he was talking about Balaki, saying he will not come, those were sparks from the real light. The real light was that he has made a proposal. They have said they don't want it. That is a capitalist. That he wants to put all Nigerian students in bondage, in loan, etc. But can we look at some of these things, cross in, cross out? Okay, fine. Professor Jubril came and said, okay, this happened in 6 months. What has happened to those things he did in 6 months? So these are the issues. We cannot run away from the reality that we have a government. I don't want to use the word they are not sensitive. The fact is all over the world, they are reprioritizing education, refinancing education, rephrasing how education is financed. And that's what he has suggested. I'm not saying take everything he has said, hook, line, and sinker. But can we just sit down for God's sake and discuss and look at these items and tell government, okay, fine, we understand your predicament. We can't finance because of this and this. Can we go this way? Can we go this way? These are the issues I'm saying. That strike has not solved their problem.
But the but in it is that this country that you say finance education, they have ready-made job after school to pay those loans back.
God bless you.
You have poor people in America. Excuse me, please. I agree with most of the things you say, but the system is different. When you finance education, somebody can come out of the university with $80,000 loan. You will get a $40,000 job minimum, right? If you pay over a period of maybe 20 years, they spread it. It's not like you have to pay in 6 months. It's like $50 a month or something like that.
But the job is there.
The job is there to do it. Second, you finance. You're talking about financing. What system is government going to put in place to finance? The banks? It's going to loan you money at 29%? Or you're going to have a system like they do and, guarantee the loan at maybe 5% rate. Now, you got to look at the people in the village. How is that going to happen? So I think and we are asking us to come up with a solution. They cannot. They are not the employer. They are making demands. They're not going to help government figure out a solution. They just want their money paid. So it's we, the parents, whose children are in the school, we have to form our own pressure group on our leaders.
As stakeholders.
Yeah, we are stakeholders. This organization is mandated to collect their own money. They added some juicy stuff to it, like they want evaluation. They don't run the university. It's the government that runs it, or the commission. They put that just that, as part of the package. But their goal is for their members to be compensated.
Okay, doctor, before you come up with what you want to say, what is the difference between the IPPIS that you don't believe in and of course the UTAS that you believe in?
You're going to allow me do it my own way, arranging.
Because I asked this first, and I want to just in a line.
I've included. That is sure. Don't remember.
What you want to say? I've included it. Okay, go ahead.
That is sure. We have to talk about it.
Now, I love the last speaker. I love the way he's situated. Babalaki's
and my name is Abdul Hakim Mustafa.
Okay, Mr. Abdullah.
Chief Abdullah.
Chief Abdullah.
Yes.
I love the way you nailed it. Now, the issue I want to add is, yes, we've provided way out for government. While we were signing 2009 agreement, the Memorandum of Understanding, government asked ASU, where are we going to get funds to do all this?
They asked you.
Yes. And the union went back, conveyed a think tank, got back to government and said, look, the oil companies are there. Get the taxes, probably increase it a little. Whatever that accrues from there, use it to fund education. And that is where we got TED Fund.
Okay.
That was where TED Fund came from. Then it was Education Tax Fund, ETF, that transformed into TED Fund. And if you go to all the universities, public universities, state, federal, you see, all the universities are almost
TED Fund projects. TED Fund projects.
You see buses, TED Fund, and it has improved tremendously. At least to a marginal effect how we run the university, the mechanism to run the university. That's one. Two is to say that we cannot afford, if you are saying that Babalakin's template, which is a capitalist template, how many students, Babalakin, one of his submission, his students should be paying $1 million tuition. How many students go to school? Before, while we were growing up, we had to have the middle class, the lower class, and now there's nothing like the middle class. It's either you are rich or you are poor. And so, how many civil servants will afford to send his work to school?
Okay, Doctor, please.
I'm
quickly explain
I'm going to it one by one.
Okay.
I'm going to it one by one. Yes, I'm going to it one by one. ASU as an organization, as a union, we are open to new ideas.
Okay.
We pride ourselves in dragging government to the negotiation table, which government will not do. Where is Adamu Adamu, the Minister of Education, when they submitted a draft agreement May 31, May 2021? And up till date, the minister has not deemed fit to look at the draft. The ministry has not made a comment, nor even looked at whether to process the draft. We are not forcing the agreement. That is why the clause is there. Every 3 years, government can call us. We can no longer do this. Let us negotiate. And then we negotiate. Since 2013 till date, they've not done that. We have been the one. Always
reminding them.
Yes, and dragging them. Now, the issue about, we are also not fighting President Muhammadu Buhari. We are not pastors, we are not politicians. It's a government. Yes, he's the leader of that government. We are not APC or PDP. All we are saying is, do the right thing, and then we move on. On IPPIS.
Okay.
IPPIS, for me, in fact, for the union, is a monumental fraud. And why? You bring in a software from World Bank, from US or whatever, and impose it as a payment platform. A payment platform that even those in the Ministry of Finance, up to date, they are still struggling to understand its workings. A payment platform that is not well understood. A payment platform that you service every month. If you see the audit, there's an audit report to that effect on IPPIS. And if you want that document, I forward it to you. If you see the Daniel report about IPPIS and its model of rounding in terms of how it has got a lot of money from the federal government in servicing. Now we are talking about a local content which is in the similitude of IPPIS that will cost the government almost nothing to run.
And that is
and that is Reuters. Yeah, to pay Nigerians. And then NITDA, who is an agency that is supposed to be promoting local content in terms of information technology, is running it down because the leader of that team is also having issues with his professorship. And no, you see, government cannot, we can't run a country the way we are running it. The British will always want to stay with their innovations. They pride themselves with innovations, even the Americans. And most of these people that run this government abroad, go and check them. Most of them, a certain laudable percentage, are Nigerians. They are Nigerians, either from the first generation or the second generation academics that went there and refused to come back, or those that went there or that are employed on a normal whatever. Those are the ones running the system. And so IPPIS is a monument. If we go into the nitty-gritty of IPPIS, you will marvel. We have the IPPIS as a payment software that even now, you know, they just centralized fraud. They centralized fraud. IPPIS will pay lecturers that their names were not sent by the payroll of a university. And by the by the time you are telling them that, oh, Professor Musa is not from this department, but you are still on Professor Musa, then the next month they bring in Professor Shehu.
Okay. Okay, please, I'll come to you, Chief Mustafa. Ustaz, you heard what he said about this issue of IPPS and, of course, UTAS. You must have been following it too. This is also another bone of contention.
I'm trying to guide my usage of words. But I think please, ASUU should let go their ego for the sake of our children. That's the way I'm going to put it. Why do I say that? A number of the issues he has raised to me are ego issues. Yes, there have been suggestions based on what Balakin said. Nobody has said take what he has said, look and think, but let's start discussion. There are challenges in this. Can we find a way around it and go there? And that's my answer to that. I have not said everything he said is good, but let's find a way, take it, okay, this one is bad, this one is good. Can we meander and get out of it? The Nigerian system cannot pay. We cannot afford and make a student to repay back their loan. I have not said yes. But when government said, look, you are taking a loan and the loan has been given, let them give that loan first, for God's sake. Let's see how they do the loan. Let's see what happens to it. Yeah, you know, these are the things. Let's sit down and look into some of the in and out and see how to solve it. On the issue of voters, I was listening to his response. I was trying to see where he mentioned, you know, functionality issue with the program. He has not mentioned functionality issue with the program. Yes, he has only said, okay, they can bring in Professor Musa now, etc. And that could be occasional problem that could be solved. He has not brought in, you know, what do you call it, functionality issue. Number two, if they want Nigerian government to go on local content, all of us love that. Okay, you've done a good job. Maybe it's an aberration if the government should not consider them in their research before they brought in IPPIS. However, whatever informed they brought it. If ASUU wants them to come to that, our children should not be guinea pig they will use to now fight that war. Okay, we are going on strike. If we don't follow it, we'll go on strike. Every single problem you have, our children are the next target that you're going to use to defend yourself. Why? That I say is an ego thing. Can they sit down and find a way to solve their problem without bringing us into it? I don't know whether I'm communicating. These Nigerians are getting pissed off with this because we keep on having the same thing, we will not solve the problem. Can we find a way out to solve the problem? Is the question all of us are asking. We can't have an organization that will go, you know, 15 months strike in about 20 years. That's 12 calendar months in every 5 years. They don't go to work, do anything. You see, he has said one or two few things that I'm happy about. Can we bring other stakeholders into this? Not just ASUU alone. Can NLC come in? Can
community organizations,
PTA come in? Can NIREC, religious book come in? You sit down with government and form a committee, robust one, that finds solution to this problem. ASUU should not think it is a problem alone because they are fighting. All other, look, when you talk of us today, maybe tomorrow NASU will start their own. For how long are we going to be victims of this unionist with our children? These are the issues. So we need to sit down and bring a robust solution. You know, bring in PTA, their stakeholders, religious leaders, you know, community leaders, whatever, NLC. Can we sit down and bring about a robust solution to the problem? These are what we are saying.
Okay, but yeah, go ahead. Don't forget, I think there's no sincerity between the two parties. That's the basic problem we are having. Remember, the Sultan of Sokoto led a panel with the religious leader before they went on strike.
Yes.
I mean, the government said they were caught unaware. Okay? So, that is being done. Alternative form of financing education is something we need to look at. It cannot be borrowing money because maybe you, maybe me can borrow money and pay back for our children. What about my aunt in the village? So I would probably advocate more about voucher system, if it is possible, if we can have a consensus on it, where you do like private partnership program for public university. So the student can take his voucher to anywhere and go to school. If you go to ABU today and they went on strike, then I can take my voucher and go to Christian and say, okay, this is what government gave me for my education, 500,000 for a year. The school costs 1 million. Let me go there. Maybe we'll start having a headway. We don't know that, but we have to get the trade union, which is they are almost the largest in the education sector, so they probably control what happened in education. We have to also get them involved to see if that will actually help them. Because what they're asking for, I don't think I heard that they didn't pay us salary. I heard that we have allowances We have this and this that's not being paid. You remember, after the strike, if it lasts for 1 year, the government still have to pay salaries to ASU. That is the aberration in this whole shenanigan that we're dealing with. The student get to stay at home, the teacher got to pay, the government still got to pay.
Sure.
But the student don't get to be educated. You understand?
Because when they have a strike,
right, you still have to pay your arrears.
And they come back to school.
You have to get paid.
They now do maybe
rush program.
program.
What we are saying is that
push these students out.
Our able doctor here is concerned about the quality of students we are breathing up. He said it. And these are our leaders tomorrow. These are the people to invent stuff. Even with the 9-month calendar program, we're still not able to compete the way we should compete. We just give credence to Nigeria. They're very brilliant. That's all it is. It's not because of the researches or the equipment we have. Because we go anywhere and beat them up once we are exposed to that technology. But it's a limit to what you can cramp up in 3 months. Academic has gone beyond just reading. It's gone into research, innovations. So you have time to develop those things. It's not something that comes overnight. You have time to look at resources, do an experiment. Just like we said about education, let's go for another experiment. If we can all come together as stakeholders, ASU, NLC, government, parent-teacher association, religious organization, I mean, that's not going to be done today to call you off from strike. That's not what we're talking about. So that's probably why some of the government people will sign just for to get you back. But they might not have enough time. They're not saying they're not paying, at least that's what they're saying. They're saying we need time. That's what the minister keeps saying, like.
And they'll keep needing time.
Yeah, well, they'll keep needing time, just like every one of us keep needing time.
Okay, let's take this break. We're just talking about the unending ASU strike. They are on with another one in strike. Today is day 4, if I'm right. Implication and way out, that's what we are looking at. And we have Dr. Gbenga Adeleye, chairman of ASU from FUNAB here. We have Ustaz Jubril Lawal, and of course we have Chief Abdullah Hakeem Mustafa. We'll take this break. When we'll come back, we'll continue.